TMZ Live, Harvey Levin here.
Charles here.
So, Don Richard took the stand this morning in the Diddy trial and backed up a lot of what Cassie testified to, but it went beyond just the beatings and the alleged abuse and got into racketeering.
Yeah, some of the things that Don Richard, a former member of Danity Kane, that she testified to could certainly fall under the umbrella of racketeering, because she mentioned specific threats, death threats. That's how she took it when she says Diddy said things like, people go missing if they don't agree with me, they don't go along with the program. Specifically, Dawn was talking about after she testified last week that she watched Diddy beat Cassie. And after that, she says there was a warning that he gave to herself and another member of their group where he said, stay out of my relationship. You don't want to go missing.
And she was asked what that meant as far as she was concerned, and she said, he would kill you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's essentially what she said.
Right. So that was a large part of her testimony. And then it got interesting when she was cross-examined also, because Diddy's attorneys tried their best to punch holes in a lot of what she had to say on the stand. So joining us now is Dawn Richard's attorney, Lisa Bloom. Lisa, welcome to TMZ Live.
Thank you for having me.
Lisa, I was fascinated that, you filed a civil suit on Dawn's behalf, and there are a lot of allegations about things that Dawn says Diddy did to her. But she was really used as now the most central figure of the people testifying so far as to racketeering, talking about drugs, talking about guns, talking about threats, right?
So you make a very good point. And yes, the civil case that we filed a week before the government filed this criminal case, I always want to emphasize that we filed our case first, and yet the government's case is very similar to our civil case in many ways. But you're right. She testified not only about what she witnessed in terms of the violence, which a number of people have also testified about very consistently, but she was asked questions about assistants and executives and other people who were present and who failed to take any action. And that's the essence of the racketeering claim.
So there were a lot of names that she mentioned during her testimony: security guards, other people at Bad Boy Records. It does seem like this was the start of the government trying to show this criminal enterprise, as they've worded it in the indictment.
Yes, and that's what they've laid out, because as the defense correctly pointed out in their opening, this is not a domestic violence case. This is not an assault case. It's a federal racketeering case. And racketeering is essentially a conspiracy among a group of people to commit serious crimes. So he's not only accused of all of the assaults on Cassie, which I think we have a lot of witnesses and a lot of evidence about so far, but that there were other people who conspired with him, whether it was assistants, whether it was executives, people who worked for him. That is something that Dawn Richard was asked about. I was very proud to watch her testify. I was in the courtroom today. And but I think Cassie also testified to some extent about other people being aware and not doing anything to help her.
We got a twofer in you today, and not only are you representing Dawn, but you're a Yale-educated lawyer, so can kind of ask your analysis of some of this. So on cross-examination, the defense pointed out that she never saw him use a gun.
She never saw him pay for the drugs.
Right. And so it seemed like they were trying to show that she couldn't complete that loop to prove racketeering.
Because one of the things that they said was that she had had several meetings with prosecutors and didn't mention anything about the death threats until last week. Now, I don't know if that's a fact, but that's what his defense attorney said during cross-examination. And that seemed to have some effect where just reading it, it made it seem like maybe Dawn doesn't have her story straight.
Well, let me address that. First of all, it's very common that when a witness tells a story over and over again for hours and hours, there are going to be minor inconsistencies, and it's kind of 101 attorneying, that you're going to take all of the statements and you're going to line them up and you're going to try to find some inconsistencies and then show that they're a liar. I think it came across that Dawn is a very honest, straightforward person who is doing her best. She's a musician. She hasn't been in court before, and she's just trying to tell the story of something that was a very painful part of her life. So I don't think that really went anywhere. Also, that those documents did not come into evidence. As an attorney, I know that if you have good documents, right, you want to get them into evidence. She was asked questions about them, but they did not come into evidence.
So what do you think, though? I'm really curious, just your kind of analysis beyond just representing Dawn, in terms of closing that loop. A lot of people have guns, a lot of people have drugs, and
they're
yet
not running criminal enterprise.
They're not exactly. They're not running criminal enterprises.
Yes.
What do you think
No,
about
that's
that?
true. That's true. And so I'm glad you brought me back to that question, Harvey, because that's an important one. So the prosecution is laying out a case probably over the course of 8 weeks. That's what they've said, right? They don't have to prove their entire case with one witness. Very rarely can prosecutors do that. Instead, they are painting a picture. Dawn's testimony is like one leaf on the tree, on the picture that they're painting. And they have other witnesses to kind of close the loop. And the fact that she said, I saw a gun, no, he didn't take it out and brandish it. He didn't point at anyone. That's fine. That's consistent. That's something that she saw. She's not exaggerating. She's not making it up. She's telling you what she saw, and then she's telling you the limits of what she saw, which is exactly what we want a witness to do when they're testifying. So right now we have, I don't know, half a dozen or more witnesses who have testified. This is just the beginning of the trial. I want everyone to understand that, because so many people, as I've been in the courthouse, and there's a lot of press outside the courthouse, have said, so do you think the prosecution has made their case? I'm like, they don't have to make their case yet. Okay. They have 8 weeks to do it. And the prosecution is going to score some points. The defense's job is to poke holes in the prosecution's case and say, well, this witness, had a problem for this reason. And the defense is going to score some points. They're very strong defense attorneys. They're doing an excellent job for their client. And that's what you want them to do in our system. So I think we should just all take a breath, wait to the end, see how the prosecution puts it all together, see how the defense comes back in their closing arguments, and then we can all really opine as to what the outcome should be. But it's too soon.
It sounds like you were hearing exactly what we were hearing last week, that people felt like Cassie, while it was certainly damaging to Diddy's character, it didn't feel like, for the person that we were all calling the star witness, that she didn't turn out to be that, as far as the indictment counts.
Oh, well, I don't agree with that. I thought Cassie was a lot more than just indicting his character. I thought she was a very powerful witness who told an astonishing story about this man brutally beating her over and over again. So, I mean, she testified for 4 days, 9 months pregnant. I honestly don't think I could have done that when I was pregnant. There's very few people who could do what she did. She's very brave and very strong. And she, again, is painting part of the picture, but she does not have to paint the whole picture. There's still a lot more witnesses to go.
Yep, absolutely. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, gentlemen. Have a good day.
You too, Lisa. I have to tell you, I've thinking about this all weekend. The racketeering is a tough one for the prosecution, because it's just not, that law is not generally used against an individual.
Yet it's the first count.
Yet it's the first count. Yet it's the first count. And one of the problems that juries sometimes have, and I'm not saying it's going to be in this case, but my antenna are up for this, that if they feel the prosecutors are overreaching, especially in the headline, sometimes it hurts the other counts as well, because they think they're kind of going after that person.
I mean, Lisa's not here anymore, but as she just said, it's week 2 of testimony.
But as you just said,
no,
there was
I get
an expectation.
But I actually think that's on the media, where we felt like she was the star witness because she's, one, the most famous of all the witnesses, right? And we know that she filed the lawsuit that led to this indictment even happening, right? So that's why we said she was the star witness. But we have no idea who else the prosecution is going to bring up here. Who might turn out to be someone else. I'm telling you, in 2 months, we're going to say someone else is the star witness.
Oh, I don't agree with that.
Okay.
I do not. I think you were right that Cassie was considered the star witness, but not just by the media. I think, witness one, they talked about her at the press conference with the U.S. Victim one, rather. They talked about her at U.S. attorney. I think.
Okay, that's fair too, that the U.S. Attorney's Office certainly.
And by the way, whether the media did it, whether the U.S. attorney did it, whether both did it, those jurors were not hermetically sealed. They heard all of this.
When they got put on the case, they heard all of that.
So they had an expectation too. So I think this was an interesting week for prosecutors. Okay, we're going to take a break.
All right. When we come back, President Trump's had a busy weekend, firing off threats at, depending on how you take his words, Bruce Springsteen, Beyonce, Oprah, and Taylor Swift, of course. Why he's so busy, and does he have a point when we come back? Fresh off his calling out Taylor Swift, the president has decided there are a bunch of other celebrities that he wants investigated, actually, namely Beyonce, Bruce Springsteen, and Oprah. The Bruce one doesn't surprise me because of their tiff from last week.
Back and forth.
It seems like President Trump's been looking for a reason to go after Springsteen, and he thinks that he and Oprah and Beyonce were illegally paid to endorse Kamala Harris. And so he is calling for an investigation. We know what that means when he says, I'm calling for a major investigation. That means he calls up the Attorney General and says, Pam, do your thing.
Can I use my sometimes faulty memory for a second? My recollection is this came up with Oprah, and she squarely addressed it when she had that town hall with her.
Right.
And she said, I didn't get anything.
Right.
My memory?
That is, your memory is correct.
Ah.
Yeah.
Ah.
In fact, this is in this video where she said it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
So
kind of
that one, that ship made it.
No, just kidding. I'm not using it.
He's not endorsing anything.
Well, for free,
right,
I'm not
any advertisers out there. But yeah, so Oprah's addressed this, and now he wants Bruce and Beyonce to do the same. Even the Beyonce call out was like, not only did she get paid, but she didn't even sing a song. She just went up there and did the endorsement and walked off. He's like, how embarrassing that she wouldn't sing.
I've got a question.
Actually,
I'm the lawyer and I should know this. But is it illegal for a celebrity to take money? I thought if there's any issue, it's going to be on the candidate and the candidate's organization. But I don't know that it's wrong for...
I don't know either. And the other thing that's, I don't know.
Okay.
It seems weird for the guy who had his buddy holding a lottery.
Right.
To get people to vote for him.
Right.
That he is calling out someone else for maybe paying, I don't know. It
was obviously, the Must thing was open to all types of voters. But anyway, I think this is stupid. I think it's a misstep for Trump, and I know he cannot help himself sometimes, but there are a lot of really positive things going on right now for his administration, at least the way I see it. And I think this distracts. Who cares? You handily beat Kamala Harris in the election. Why look back? Who cares what Beyonce got or Oprah got? It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. Just why distract from a lot of the good things
Honestly,
happening?
if they did get paid, it was money wasted by the Democrats and by
so
Kamala's campaign.
Why put the attention back on the election? Who cares? It's over with. It's months ago.
He just can't let it go. And it's interesting because, I will say, Charles and I were just talking about this during the break. There's a Trump policy now when it comes to dealing with the rest of the world. And the way it's shaping up is you're not going to judge other countries based on democratic values.
It's all based on money.
Transactions. And it's, and it's
creating if there's money in it for America, he's all for it. And if there's money in it for him, he might be in for that too.
And it's getting some...
If I get a jet here or there?
But that's getting some traction, even on the left. Even on the left. So, like Babcock says...
Some traction on the left.
I didn't say a lot, but a lot of it has to do with a messenger and a 747.
Exactly.
But beyond that, it is getting some traction. To now, get into Beyonce and Taylor Swift and Bruce Springsteen.
We all know there's a reason, right? This is all...
Can't let it go.
One, can't let it go, and two, he knows that people will talk about that, and they'll stop talking about other things.
Casey, California, Trump needs to focus on bigger issues going on in the U.S. Also, I feel like if he wants to gain more respect from more people, he needs to just act. If he's going to do the investigation, then do the investigation. He needs to stop going to social media and ranting. But I feel like this is a ploy to get everyone riled up again, cause more division, and gain more attention.
Okay, so I got a question for you. If a video surfaces of Pam Bondi rocking out at a Springsteen concert, did she get fired?
I think she probably will. I think Trump will go that far and do that too.
You did what? Sir, it was 15 years ago. So what?
So what? Okay, we're going to move on.
Yes, to Justin Bieber, who got to do something he really enjoys this weekend, but the results certainly not something he would enjoy. Went to the Toronto Maple Leafs. His home team went to their playoff game. It was Game 7.
And they got creamed.
Yeah, they lost 6-1. So Florida bounced them out of the playoffs. Obviously, that was earlier in the game where he was still enjoying it. So as soon as that was over, he got called out by another famous Canadian. I don't know what's with the Canada on Canada crime here, but Drake had something to say.
So Drake called out Justin Bieber like Justin Bieber is the curse as to why the Maple Leafs lost, because it's kind of funny curse. Actually, because Drake and Justin are friends. I think people want to think like, oh, you know, Drake's trying to start another beef, another Kendrick Lamar beef. But truthfully, Drake and Justin, they're both from Canada. Remember, Drake had that hit song Pop Star, and Justin Bieber starred in his music video. But Drake is trying to take, you know, the curse off of him because he's also a huge fan. So he was trying to say that Justin Bieber was
been called a huge curse.
He's been called a huge curse in every team he supports.
This is all file this under Misery Loves Company.
But it's funny.
Right?
It's this one is actually funny.
Frankie from Washington, D.C. Honestly, I don't think that any celebrity or anybody could be a curse to any team, but I actually really do believe in the comment you guys just made, which was that misery loves company. And I do really think that Drake is possibly trying to start a beef with Justin Bieber to kind of distract from all the other headlines and drama he's been in with other celebrities, specifically Kendrick, this last year.
Yeah, maybe a playful beef. It would be nice to have a playful beef, not one that leads to lawsuits and censoring of Super Bowl halftime shows.
So it's sort of like what's the name of the meat? Impossible meat.
Impossible meat?
It's impossible beef. No? No? Okay.
We're beyond beef.
Beyond beef. We're gonna take a break.
All right, when we come back, new exhibits in the Diddy trial that just came in, and we're gonna show you the photos that the jury has seen, that people in the courtroom have seen, and some of them are brutal depictions of domestic violence and other people involved in the case.
TMZ's got every freaking thing. Big celebs, big stories, big events.
Justin Timberlake made Portland kids' dream come true by joining a bike bus ride. And they always listen to Justin Timberlake.
Cry me a river when they fall.
It's TMZ.
Well, as we are doing the show, the trial of Diddy is going on right now, and there are new exhibits that are being entered by the hour, and we just got a big dump of a bunch of these photos.
A huge dump.
A lot of his photos, and some of them are hard to see just because we know what Cassie has said about the domestic violence. We've seen the hotel beating tape. So some of the exhibits you just saw, that was one of them where it shows a cut. We don't know the timing of when what that injury is from exactly.
And you should understand the way this works in court, because there are people in the courtroom, in the gallery, the media, but oftentimes what the lawyers will do is say, Your Honor, I want to introduce exhibit 4B or whatever. And they don't show it to the audience. They just give it to the jury. So these are clearly bruises from Cassie that the jury has seen from various attacks. And, you know, the jury knows what they're connected to, but, you know, they don't do paint by the numbers in court. So, again, a lot of pictures of various people. This is Cassie wearing sunglasses.
Sunglasses, but look at her lip is clearly
her lip is
swollen,
busted or swollen, and clearly she's hiding something on her eye. You can see in her right eye.
By the way, Dawn Richard, I don't know if this is
it may not
the
be
one
the
she's
central
talking
part,
about, but she testified about an event they went to in Central Park where Cassie had to wear sunglasses to cover up a black eye. Now, there are also a lot of exhibits that were entered that showed what they found in the hotel room when Diddy was arrested at the
Parker Meridian.
Right.
You see drugs.
So you see baby oil, drugs.
You know, guys, out of all these exhibits that we're seeing, the awful photos of Cassie's injuries and the way she would try to cover them up, for some reason, the one that stuck out most to me was how she testified about having to put a knife in her door. So you can see there's a big, like, butcher knife that she said she would put there so he wouldn't break in, but also so she had easy access for a weapon. So it just really paints the picture of how scared she really was for her life.
Yeah. Now again, you got to remember, this is not a domestic violence case, and the prosecution needs to be careful not to put so much in the way of domestic violence that when they go in,
seems like that's all you've presented.
That's right. And you go into the jury deliberation room, and then somebody says, "Wait a minute, guys, this is not a domestic violence case," and they're so focused.
Well, again, as we said earlier, that this is just, Lisa Bloom said it perfectly, that they're painting the picture, right? And this is, domestic violence is part of it. It's not what he's charged for. But I would imagine the reason that they're presenting all of it is it's going to lead to, here are the people who helped him systematically carry this out.
Yeah, and again, there's a big question on whether racketeering, if this is a classic racketeering case, and whether the jury is going to buy that element. I think it's really.
Can we go back to the shot of the drugs, the pink? I don't know if it's pink cocaine or what they call it, but I'm wondering what the bottle, what the prescription was for.
Is that that's a pill, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a pill there.
One of the prescription bottles, you can clearly see that it is called clonazepam, which is also known as Klonopin. So that's actually used in people to treat panic attacks.
Right.
But obviously, you know,
it can recreationally be used otherwise.
Well,
yeah,
but you got to remember, when he went to the Parker Meridian before the arrest, he knew this arrest was coming.
Right.
In fact, that's why he was in New York.
There, right.
So that is probably, I'm guessing it's an anti-anxiety drug for him.
What about the pink cocaine?
That seems more recreational to me. That seems more recreational.
I'm not sure how you make that out to be.
That's
clinical.
Solid point. Solid point.
Hi, I'm Darren from NYC. Cassie's injuries are really, really horrific and heartbreaking. It just goes to show the abuse and violence that she suffered. And if the jury was on the fence about him, these photos are probably going to seal his fate, in my opinion. The public does not like violence against women at all.
Yeah, that's undeniable. The issue is he's not being tried for that. Okay, we're taking a break.
When we come back, how are Diddy's children handling all of this testimony? In particular, his twin daughters. This weekend, they had a milestone in their lives that they got to enjoy, but how are they coping with all this testimony? We're going to be joined by the woman who is their caretaker. Kim Porter's very good friend, Lala, will be here when we come back. Well, as the Diddy trial played out in New York City, this weekend in LA, got to see a completely different side of life for his family right now. His daughters, the twins, Jessie and Delilah, went to their prom. There they are, dressed in their red gowns. By the way, their dates, very chivalrous. Check this out. Picked them up to carry them down the stairs so they wouldn't trip in those gowns.
Wow.
It was, on the one hand, you look at it and you go like, this is great for them that they can just have this moment to be kids.
But
right?
as they are
getting ready to graduate.
Center of attention here.
Right, and they were actually in New York last week for a couple of days of the trial, which had to be very trying for them. So joining us right now is the woman who is their guardian now, Kim Porter's best friend, Lala Lane, and she is joining us right now. Lala, welcome to TMZ Live.
I'm one of a few of Kim's very close, intimate circle, so it takes a team. It's not just me, just to let you know.
Yeah.
You know, it must be beyond difficult for these twins to kind of hear what they heard, knowing everybody else heard it too, and then they try to kind of blend in at the prom. So, I mean, I can only imagine how difficult?
All his children are very smart and bright kids. These girls make straight A's. We focus on God first. They go to school. They lead a normal life. Kim's family, his family, Kim's closest friends. We keep a close circle. You know, that's their father, and they know their father one way. We deal with it as a family and we move forward. Our faith in God leads us and keeps us going. And it's not a discussion for us around here the way it is for the rest of the world. We really value our family time, we value privacy, and keeping all the children focused on just living their life and being normal. And we keep it as normal as possible, you know?
Lala, I have no doubt that that's what you try to do for them, and I'm sure you do an excellent job of that, and it sounds like them going to church certainly helps. I wonder, though, about when they go to school, because obviously I'm sure they have their close circle of friends who are protective of them, but you know how kids are at that age in high school. There are going to be people who want to taunt them. Is that something that they are dealing with, or do they have a...
No, they go to a great school where there are a lot of other kids who have issues with families, celebrity families. The school is very protective. It has been a blessing. They have been there since kindergarten. A lot of kids, they have grown up since kindergarten. I've been there with them, with their mom. So as a couple other friends, we're very close. So it doesn't affect the way everyone else feels that it has. Is it sad or we're disappointed in things? Absolutely, but their mother and their dad taught them you have to keep going. And what we talk about in privacy is our business. Those girls are very strong.
So their relationship with their dad, I mean, this is somebody who was present in their life and for many months now. He's been locked up. And, you know, who knows what's going to happen with the trial. If he's found guilty, he could be in prison for many, many years. They've already lost their mom. How are they coping with this?
Listen, all the children, we have started these process of talks a long, long time ago. So for the rest of the world, this is shocking and upsetting and things like that. We have done family therapy. We have done things as a group. We stick together. Nobody wants to see something like that happen to their father. They know their father a certain way. I've known their dad 30 years. So a lot of things I know a lot more, but that's just not our focus here. And they're very strong enough to say, you know, this is my dad. And we understand it, but we have to move forward. It can't be a crutch. It can't be, you know, the worst thing that has happened is we've all lost Kim. That was devastating. I speak to him, his children speak to him, and we pray, and that's all we can do. It's not in our hands. This is, you know, out of our control.
Luanda, I know last week certainly would have been trying for the family hearing all the testimony that went down last week, but it also came on the heels of an interview we wanted to ask you about that. Albie Shore, right before the trial started, did an interview where he pointed the finger pretty clearly at Diddy, claiming that he had something to do with Kim's death. And I know that's got to be upsetting. As you said, the girls got through that.
Let me be very clear on Kim's passing. That nobody but her closest friends and our children were there. I was in London. My daughter was actually taking care of her every day. She was sick. One of our best friends was there, and the week before, all of our closest friends were there, and one was flying back. I spoke to her 10 hours before. I spoke to her every day. I lived in that house. For someone to speak so reckless about something that we have as a friend group and as her family who lost her mother 4 years before, and we were all there, to speak so recklessly on stuff that you know nothing about. You saw that woman 2 months before for an hour. You were not friends. You did not have a discussion. Is wrong. Is wrong to her children, wrong to her family. Her father is still alive. Is wrong to us, her friends who have been there and were there taking care of her. No one expected this, not her. My conversation, I hung up. It was fine. We said, I love you. We spoke for an hour for things. And then I get a call from my daughter a few hours later. And unfortunately, the worst happened to us. But for the world to take on this narrative and this craziness, what is the benefit for Sean to not have the mother of his kids? There is no benefit. That is not, she was not writing a book. That was not Kim's mental state about anything. And to be reckless and to talk about things that you don't know that we have been able to keep private for 7 years for us as a whole, that's our business. She was our friend. That was somebody's daughter. That's somebody's granddaughter that her grandmother just passed. And her children, she had kids who knew she was not well. So that's just, I get very upset because I don't understand how people can just talk about something they have no idea about anything. None.
We are about out of time. I'm just curious because, wow, there is so much on your plate that, like you said, you've known Diddy for 30 years. You have Kim's passing, who was so close, somebody so close to you. You're now taking care of the kids. You're watching the swirl of what's going on in the trial. How are you doing? I mean, this just seems like a lot.
Look, like I said, I have God. God is first in my life. I am blessed to have a great friend group, sisterhood. There's about 5 or 6 of us that are extremely close, very close to Kim. That was our sister. We do this all together. We're able to talk to one another about things. Our kids are all close. So we are a family unit here. We are not, I'm not the only one who's feeling this way. And we just try to go on. That's all we can do. We've had a lot of losses, personal losses between all of us in the past 8 years. So, we're trying to move forward. That's all we can do. That's all, and you have to put the Lord first in your life because that's who my strength comes from.
Thank you so much. I know you're going through a lot right now, so we really appreciate you taking the time to come on and talk to us.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lala.
All right.
Wow. She has the weight of the
It
world.
would be a lot for her to take on without all the stuff that's going on with Diddy right now.
Right.
And now you throw that on top of it. It is amazing what she's doing.
Okay, we are taking a break.
All right, when we come back, the battle over a Georgia woman who is being kept alive. She's brain dead, but she's on life support and will be for several months because she is pregnant. Georgia's heartbeat law says they have to keep her alive. Her family disagrees. There is a battle going on in Georgia over a woman named Adriana Smith, who is in the hospital. She has been declared brain dead. She had horrible blood clots in her brain that were discovered back in February, and then she's been kept alive on life support, even though she is brain dead. And the reason is she is pregnant. At this point, she is 21 weeks pregnant.
She went on life support, I believe, when she was 9 weeks pregnant.
Right. And under Georgia's heartbeat law, they have to do everything they can to keep her unborn baby alive. And the reason that she's on life support is they want her to carry the baby to term.
Now, the family believes that this baby is going to be born with
all sorts of
horrendous disabilities as a result. And there is a big conflict going on because a lot of them want to pull the plug.
Right. But on the other side of things, there are people who believe very strongly in Georgia's heartbeat law. One of them is our guest, Joshua Edmonds. He is the former director of the Georgia Life Alliance. Joshua, welcome to TMZ Live.
Hey guys, thanks for having me today. Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on. So why don't you kind of lay out your position? The family, or at least a lot of them, are saying that this is going to be a terrible outcome. This child is going to be born with severe disabilities, and they just do not see the point here.
It's great to bring up this conversation, I think, because something that has sort of plagued issues surrounding maternal mortality, pregnancy, and abortion here in Georgia for the past 5 years, 6 years or so, has been misinformation and misunderstanding about what Georgia's heartbeat bill actually does. In reality, Georgia's heartbeat bill actually doesn't say what should happen in this situation. It does not dictate what should happen in end-of-life care circumstances for pregnant women, or what the hospitals and families are bound to do. The heartbeat bill primarily does several things. One is it says the preborn baby should be counted in the census in Georgia. It says that families can claim a preborn baby on their state income taxes as a dependent. It says that women can actually file for child support against a deadbeat dad of a baby in the womb who won't support her during pregnancy, be supportive during pregnancy. And then it says that you can't have an abortion after heartbeat for a baby in the womb. Now, it defines what abortion is as the intentional act of ending the life of the baby by administering medication or performing a procedure with the intention of causing the baby to die in the womb. Removing life support from this mother in this really, really sad case doesn't fall into the definition of the heartbeat bill. What is happening, though, is that it appears that there is case law from 1984 that's actually being applied here in this circumstance. If you go all the way back to the mid to late 80s, there was a case down in Augusta of a woman named Donna Piazzi. And Donna had a very similar situation to what's happening here in Georgia today, where she was in a vegetative state, a coma here in Georgia, declared brain dead, and she was pregnant. But the baby was viable, and the family wanted to remove life support. So there was a lawsuit against the hospital, and what the court found down in Richmond County was that there was a compelling interest by the state to protect the life of the baby while it's viable in the womb.
Was that ever appealed?
So it was not appealed to the best that I...
There's no precedential value that a county judge said.
But the hospital has said that they're making their decision based on legal guidance, clinical testing, and consensus from their medical experts.
There's no legal precedent there if the case wasn't appealed. That's a judge. No precedential impact at all. I mean, what do you think, just in terms of humanity here, that she's being kept alive artificially? She was going to die naturally, and they are keeping her on this life support for a profoundly disabled child.
When you look at the circumstance here, you mentioned the hospital is saying that they're looking at their actual firsthand medical knowledge of the case, and they feel like the baby is viable. We don't know what's happening in those test results. We don't know what's happening in that hospital room. When you look at a moral standpoint, this is the sort of case that the heartbeat bill wasn't intended to get involved in. There's a reason that the law says best medical judgment of the doctor, because it's impossible to legislate every single circumstance that we're going to come into contact with here in Georgia in our hospital rooms in these tragic cases where you get into balancing the importance of morality and ethics and medicine with law. And this is a circumstance where the hospital says their doctors and their medical counsel, their legal counsel, are looking at the situation saying they have a duty to preserve the life of this baby as long as they can under Georgia law and under their best medical practices. And keeping in mind, this is Emory University Hospital who lobbied against the heartbeat bill. This is not like this is Republican-led pro-life activists inside of a religious hospital. This is Emory University Hospital. They were not in favor of the heartbeat bill, but they're looking as the experts at what's happening in this case and saying we have a duty to preserve this baby's life here in this specific circumstance.
I wonder if they're looking at it as the way you put it, Joshua, or are they looking at it because their lawyers say we're going to get a huge backlash legally from some organization if not the government, if we if we take her off life support. I'm not sure which it is, but it is, either way, for the family, a very tragic story.
We're praying for this family. We hope things resolve better than it seems like they are so far, and we're praying for this terrible circumstance. But we trust our doctors and hope that they can do everything they can to preserve life when they have the opportunity to.
Okay, Joshua.
Thank you,
really
Joshua.
appreciate the time.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you having me.
Thank you.
What a complicated thing for that family to be in the middle of.
Okay, we are going to take a break.
All right, when we come back, Gwyneth Paltrow defending something that has stuck with her for years. It's sort of the joke everyone makes about that candle, the vagina candle. She is now explaining why they put that out, and she still stands by it. might be the product, not might, it is without a doubt the product that put Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop on the map, right? This, when they...
I mean, when you say Goop...
I'm sorry, that's the name of the company. But Goop started getting so much more attention when the company put out "This Smells Like My Vagina" candle. And Gwyneth Paltrow knows that it's a thing people, I'm sure she hears jokes about it all the time. Well, this weekend...
By the way, brilliant marketing.
Absolutely.
Brilliant marketing.
She let us in on how this actually came to be and made it clear that she still stands by it. And this was her speaking at the Mind Valley Summit this weekend.
That product is so fascinating because we were messing around with different scents one day, and I smelled something, and I was like, oh, that smells like, you know. I was joking. And then he was like, oh, we should make that a candle and put it on the site. And I thought he was kidding. And I was like, yeah, definitely. That sounds like a winner right there. And then all of a sudden, it was literally on the website. It took us a long time to live that one down. But I kept it on the site because there is an aspect to women's sexuality that I think we're socialized to feel a lot of shame. And I sort of loved this kind of punk rock idea. We are beautiful and we are awesome, and go yourself.
Honestly, she's fantastic.
That's how you play it.
Fantastic.
Played perfectly.
I ordered from Goop yesterday, not the candle. I did. I really did order. Okay, every weekend we put polls up on the website. We want to see how you felt about things that we posted over the week. Here are the results.
Justin Bieber's bong shots. Not a good look. No biggie, it's just weed.
I'm surprised at that.
Wow.
I know. I'm surprised at it. Boy, pearl clutchers. James Comey's 8647 post. Innocent criticism of Trump or dangerous threat on Trump. It's got to be innocent. Please. It should be more.
Wow.
Sorry.
Close.
Come
Close.
on.
All right.
Okay,
Yep.
last one. Who's winning so far? Diddy or the U.S. Attorney? I think this is going to be 60-40.
They're going to say U.S.
I think
Attorney.
U.S. Attorney by
US Attorney,
60.
yes.
That's my guess.
So,
wow.
Listen, we can keep talking all we want about this. They're not addressing the 4 counts he's up against.
But I don't think people are looking at the 4 counts.
Yeah.
I think they're listening to Cassie.
Right.
Okay, we're taking a break.
All right, when we come back, a big moment for Kobe Bryant's family. We show you the milestone for Natalia this weekend. I can't believe this.
I know.
Are we getting old?
Yes.
Natalia Bryant, Kobe and Vanessa's daughter. I can't believe, I thought she just went to college 2 years ago.
Okay, you officially have an old card now, because that's exactly what
How it starts to feel?
Yeah.
Well, Natalia Bryant this weekend graduated from USC.
Wow.
From USC's film school in particular. And you can see Vanessa, very proud mom.
Wow, that is just amazing. That is just amazing.
I remember when she went to the school and that it was, wow. Is it really 4 years ago? Although I will admit, I said this same thing this weekend when some friends of mine, their daughter graduated, and I was like, how is that possible?
So listen, we're going to have to end the show right now because I've got to help him over back to his
Right,
desk.
I got to go get
He's an old man.
take my vitamins.
We'll see you tomorrow.